Welcome aboard Just Jets with your captain, Matt O'Leary. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to Just Jets episode number 33. What's going on? I am Matt O'Leary. I'm going to be hanging out with you guys talking some New York Jets football for the next, half hour or so, maybe something like that. It's, we have a lot to get to today. A lot to get to. We're going to do voicemails. So just so you guys know, I'm recording on Wednesdays now, so it's not so much like I can get the full week of voicemails, and there were a lot this week, just like last week. I love all the support, and I really wish I can get to every single call, but I would be here for 3 hours doing this thing if I got to every single call. So for the most part, I'm doing from the end of the game onwards, because if a lot of the calls were before the game happened this past week, which it's not as relevant because there's new information involved. So if you want to get your questions in, call after games after Sundays, or this week's going to be a little bit different, obviously, because they play on Thursday. So there'll be some reaction on Fridays and stuff like that, and the rest of the weekend. So just wanted to get that out there. If I don't get to your question, I'm sorry. Like I said, I wish I could get to every single one. I wanted to hit on a bunch of different topics. And there were, again, second week in a row, there's just too many to get through. I think people want to vent their frustrations with the New York Jets, which I completely get. The title of this episode is Gase's Final Stand. And the reason why I decided to title it Gase's Final Stand is because I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Thursday night, tomorrow night, by the time that you are watching this or viewing or listening to this, will be the last day that Adam Gase is the head coach of the New York Jets. I fully believe that if they lose this game and drop to 0-4 and continue to struggle to move the ball offensively against a depleted Denver Broncos team, that this is the end. And it makes sense because you're playing on Thursday Night Football, which gives whoever would take over, I would assume Greg Williams would run the defense and be the head coach, while Dowell Loggins and Adam Gase would get the F out. Sorry, that's all you can say at this point. And I would assume that Jim Bob Cooter would take over calling the offensive plays. He was the offensive coordinator in Detroit, had a little bit of success with Matt Stafford, not anything crazy, but obviously better than Adam Gase. So I think that would be the way to go. The rumors coming out this past week were that the Jets have been asking around to different agents about potential head coaching hires. Now, what that means is in the future, so like after this year, which totally makes sense because I don't think, even if Adam Gase completed the season, which I think is 50-50 right now, they're moving on from him after this year. There's no way that they are bringing him back for a third year. You just can't, unless something crazy happens, but I would put the percentage of him coming back next year to coach this team at like 2%, like that low. I don't think he's back at all. And the rumor was coming from Colin Cowherd on that one that they were asking around, but a lot of other people like Mortensen from ESPN came out and said that the Jets are really looking into Adam Gase, and that was before the game on Sunday. They got their doors blown off on Sunday. We'll talk about that briefly before we get into the voicemails as well, but I just think this is it. I think we finally reached the point, and that's why I'm wearing the Fire Gase shirt again. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see it. Back-to-back days. I can only get it in for as a couple more days now with this shirt. I think I really believe it in my heart. I do believe it, and maybe part of it is because of how anti-Gase I have been since the beginning. But I had low expectations for him to begin with. It's even worse than what I thought it was going to be. I posted some clips on my Instagram, which if you're not following, it's at Matt O'Leary NY. I posted some clips on my Instagram from the initial reaction. So I was doing live streams at the time, and I remember the day as clear as day. It was January 9th, 2019, and I remember doing a live stream because at the time the story was that it's come down to Mike McCarthy or Matt Rule. And I'm a huge Matt Rule guy. That's who I wanted. So I prepped, got on the stream, and I made my case for Matt Rule. And I thought I laid out a pretty good one. And I said, you know what? I remember closing it. I was like, you know what? Mike McCarthy, I just think a retread option like him. He's really regressed. His offensive hasn't been as good. I think the league's starting to pass him by. I really want to go with the younger up-and-coming coach from college who has rebuilt a couple of programs. I think if you get some good coordinators in there with him, I think he could do a really good job. That was my take in that. Mike McCarthy, while a big name, I think his success was pretty much done in his past. Disagree, agree. It doesn't matter to me, but regardless, I hop off the stream and I was like, okay. Like, I felt pretty good about that. Like, that was a good stream. And no later, like almost instantaneously after I got off that, the notification came across that they hired Adam Gase. And that was completely out of left field. Like, he was at the bottom of the barrel. Like, him and Jim Caldwell were bottom of the barrel fighting it out for who was the last guy I wanted hired to run this team. I think most Jets fans felt the same way. I would say majority probably wanted McCarthy, which I understand. He's an experienced coach and did win a Super Bowl. I think he was flawed, but nonetheless, Matt Rule, Cliff Kingsbury, Todd Monken. Like, there were some intriguing names that got interviewed. Eric Bieniemy, I believe, even talked with the Jets back then. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure that they were interested in Bieniemy at that time. And for some reason, Adam Gase came out of it. Like, how does that happen? How did that happen? And now, a year and a half later, we're talking about how big of a mistake it was. Going on 2 years later, how big of a mistake that was. And I know it was just a couple of weeks ago that Christopher Johnson came out in defense of Adam Gase, but I really think you got to pull the plug at this point. Just shut up, eat your words, and say, you know what, I was wrong about this guy. I thought he was going to be able to turn this franchise around. He didn't. It's been bad. He's got worse. The young quarterback that he was supposed to groom has gotten worse. And I think he's still salvageable. Like, I want to see 12 games of Sam Darnold away from Adam Gase. And if that happens, like, this might be a hot take. I don't think the Jets are picking first overall. Everyone is penciling in the Jets to have the first overall pick and to take Trevor Lawrence. I don't necessarily buy that. I don't think that's going to be the case if they move on from Adam Gase. And even if they kept Gase, I still think they find their way to 3 or 4 wins, which isn't going to be enough to get the first overall pick. I think there's going to be teams who finish with the same record or worse. And you have to keep in mind, with the Jets' strength of schedule, they don't have any tiebreakers. So right now, if the season ended today, there's 5 teams with an 0-3 record. The Jets would pick 5th because of the strength of schedule. Every other team who is 0-3 has a better shot of finishing ahead of the Jets in terms of the draft pecking order, which is not great if you're in the tank for Trevor Lawrence bandwagon. But who knows? Maybe they go 0-16. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I think they stumble into 4 wins this year, which is sad because my expectations were kind of low at 7-9, and now they've, after 3 weeks, have changed to, okay, maybe they go 4-12, which is a disaster. But regardless, Gase, I think, is going. Some thoughts on the Colts game. Lose 36-7. Sam didn't play well. He made one really good play. The touchdown pass was what I love and a lot of other Jets fans love about watching Sam Darnold. He can make something out of nothing. The interceptions were really bad. The decision-makings were bad. But at the same time, you have a legitimate case with what Sam's been working with. His running backs were 37-year-old Frank Gore, Kalen Ballage, who no one in the NFL wanted. Braxton Berrios is the best wide receiver right now. All due respect to Braxton Berrios, but if he is your best wide receiver, you are in a world of issues. Your roster is not good. And I know there's been injuries, and some guys are coming back this week, which is good, which is definitely good. But how can you say Sam has a shot with Braxton Berrios, Hogan, Malone as his receiving core? Like, come on, that's a joke. That's an absolute joke. Poor kid has no shot, and we saw that on display. We saw some regression. Just wasn't good. Outside of the touchdown drive, which I will give Gase credit here, I thought that was one of, if not the best drives he's called since coming to the Jets over the last 2 years. He had Sam roll out to left, which I think was great. He had him rolling out on the run, which it needs more of that, definitely. 2 running backs in the backfield. We were calling that forever. And I do think he did a couple of creative things there. And then once he got down big, it was like, okay, I'm going to go back into my shell. And it was the boring Adam Gase offense that we're so used to. I I just think they desperately need a change. I really do. That's my main takeaway from the Colts game, from what we saw. They desperately need a change. They need a new voice, and Greg Williams as the interim, I think is the way to go. And I just want Adam Gase and Dowell Loggins as far away from Sam Darnold as humanly possible. So that's my take. Now let's get into those voicemails. First up, I think it's Ali. I'm sorry, it was very tough to hear on the voicemail. If I got it wrong, that's on me. Sorry, but let's hear from him. He wants to talk about the first overall pick.
Hey, Matt. It's LD from New York. It's actually my first time calling. I watch your podcast all the time. I really love your content, man, and I just had a hypothetical question for you. Let's say the Jets really do tank the season. They have an awful season, 0-16, 1-15, whatever the case, and they end up getting the first pick in next year's draft. If Joe Douglas decides to trade the pick for a massive haul, and they end up getting like 1 to 2 first-round picks, maybe a second, or maybe they get 1 first-round pick and another first-round pick from like another team with another trade. I think next year we're already expected to have 2 first-round picks, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say we end up having 4 first-round picks next year. What positions do you think we should address first, to help out Sam Darnold, of course, because I still believe in the guy.
Fair.
So
Fair.
yeah, I just wanted your opinion on that. What 4 positions? I was thinking right tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, and edge. But tell me what you think. And even though we're garbage right now, go Jets. Thanks, man.
Appreciate the call. Thank you for checking in. Couple of things I think you hit on the head. With those positions, wide receiver is very high on my list, very, very high. If the Jets are picking in the top 7, let's say, somewhere in there, I don't think that I find it very hard to believe if they somehow finish higher than that. The guy I really want is Jamar Chase. That's who I really want to see be a member of the New York Jets. I think he's a game changer. A lot of people who scout these guys and that I trust say that he's better than anyone from the wide receiving class last year, which I liked a lot. I was a big fan of CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy. Make no mistake about it. While I thought and still believe that it was important for the Jets to draft an offensive lineman, I was still a big fan of both of those prospects, and I would be a big fan of taking Chase, a wide receiver, that early, especially with another first-round pick. And potentially if you had the first overall pick and traded it for another first-round pick, then that's a ton of draft capital right there, which is definitely intriguing to me. And wide receivers high up there, edge and corner on the defensive side is really the only positions that I care about fixing right now. I can't put any more draft assets into safety, inside linebacker, and the defensive line. It's just numbing at this point. They need a change of philosophy, so I don't really want to touch those positions in the draft. I could see them trying to improve the interior of the offensive line at the guard position. I don't think either of the guards have been particularly great. More so Van Roten. He's been pretty rough so far. Fant surprised me, so maybe they stick with him for next year and the year after. Or you can get another tackle and just have 2 stud tackles on the outside. And we know how much Joe Douglas, loves and values the offensive line, so I wouldn't be surprised by that. But I would say very high up on the list would be wide receiver and offensive line, cornerback, and edge. Those are the 4 positions to me that could completely change the trajectory of this team and Sam Darnold's career as well. So hopefully that answered your question. Thanks again for calling in. If I got your name wrong, once again, I apologize. It was tough to hear on the voicemail. Next up, we got Liam from Sayville, who wants to get into Chris Herndon.
Hey, Matt. It's Liam from Sayville once again. I have a question about Chris Herndon. Do you think that if we don't start seeing some production from him, we might need to move on from him maybe after this season and possibly bench him during the season, maybe start Ryan Griffin? Obviously he's not the player that he was in 2018. He has multiple drop passes. He even has that fumble. And he's just not really living up to that hype. I don't know if it's possibly from not playing last year or what the deal is, but I don't know. He just doesn't seem like the same player, and it's kind of getting a little concerning. I think that we might need to actually move on from him. I know it is still early, but I don't know. Just food for thought. Let me know what you think. And as always, go Jets.
Interesting question, Liam. I don't think they would move on from him. I do think it's completely fair to criticize him through 3 weeks. I don't think he's been very good, but they would have him under his rookie contract for one more year, so I think they'd probably stick with that. Because it's not going to cost you a whole lot. I do think Herndon needs to be better. I think a part of it is because of the way the offense is designed. So I would like to see him along with Sam Darnold away from Adam Gase for the last half of the season. Ryan Griffin, while I'm not opposed to sitting someone down who's struggling, like Chris Herndon would be a candidate for that, Ryan Griffin just looks like a complete non-factor. And I don't know if it's because of the injury or if it's because of how Adam Gase utilizes tight ends. Like we've seen in Miami, he doesn't know how to use a tight end. And so far, he really hasn't had a ton of luck with Chris Herndon, who should be, a really good receiving tight end. It's been a rough go. It really has been a rough go for him. Maybe they sit him. I would be really surprised if they completely moved on from him after this year. But I do understand the frustration, and I don't think he's been very good to start this year. Next up is Jeff from California. Thanks again, Liam. And he wants to talk about Adam Gase.
Hey, Matt. This is Jeff from Cali. First-time caller, long-time listener. Love the show. So I got a two-parter for you today. So both regarding the two-brain cell wonder, Adam Gase. So
love that.
First thing that I'm thinking about is, do you think Christopher Johnson is keeping Adam Gase as the head coach of the New York Jets because he feels like it gives the Jets the best chance to get the first overall pick? I know this sounds like a joke, but for real, I mean, what could he possibly see in Adam Gase that makes him think that he's the right guy to take us to the playoffs, much less a Super Bowl? Second question is, out of all the coaching candidates right now, who do you think is probably like your favorite candidate? Because honestly, I mean, you got like Eric Bieniemy, it's not like you can take a Mike McCarthy off the street. Like there's no retired guy. Who are you going to get? I mean, honestly, knowing Christopher Johnson, we're probably going to hire Matt Patricia, another failed head coach that just got fired.
Don't put that evil on me.
Yeah, I mean, Bieniemy's never called a play in the NFL. Sure, he's under like the hamburger helper himself, but it's not like he's calling the plays or, and they have like Patrick Mahomes there and Gase had Peyton Manning, same difference. So I'm not a believer in Bieniemy. Do you want to go for like a college route? Or do you want to get like a rah-rah guy, kind of like a Pete Carroll type? Or do you want more of like a Bill Belichick, a stoic kind of X's and O's guy? Anyway, a little long-winded, but thanks. Bye.
No, don't apologize. I thought it was a lot of interesting points you brought up. So first thing, that's not the first time I've heard that conspiracy on the Jets Talk panel that we do on Jets Talk 24/7's channel. Usually we do Tuesday nights from 8 to 10, so if you want to check that out, definitely check it out. It's worthwhile. Green Bean brought it up in conversation with keeping Gase around because it gives you the best chance at the number one overall pick. I don't buy that. I really don't. I think that if they lose this week, they're moving on from him. I could be completely wrong, but we'll see in that regard. I personally like Eric Bieniemy. I know there's another question about Bieniemy that later on that I'm going to get a little bit more in depth in. While Andy Reid usually calls the plays in the playoffs last year, there were points where Bieniemy was calling plays. There's screen grabs of him on the sideline with the headset on and the play sheet in, giving plays in. So he does have that experience. And I mean, if you look at it worked out pretty well for Doug Peterson working under Andy Reid there. And the Andy Reid coaching tree is pretty good. So I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss Bieniemy. If you think other options are better, which I think is a reasonable take, Greg Roman's a name that's going to come up because of the work that he's done with the Ravens offense. I like PJ Fleck a lot from the college route. There's your rah-rah guy and someone who gets his guys to buy in. I definitely think that they need someone like that because Todd Bowles he had no personality and was just like flatline. Gase is a psycho. Like we know, you've seen the interviews, and he seems very intense, but I don't think he comes off as likable. I don't think players really like playing for him. So I just think they need someone who could maybe be a little bit more relatable. Like, that's not a bad thing. Some people would say, you need an old school guy who's going to, kick them while they're down and yell at them and scream at them like Greg Williams. And I think sometimes that works, and for some players that works well, but I think that could run its course rather quickly and not last very long. So I think that those days are kind of over. They need someone who can be a motivator. That's what they need, because then there'd be less blowout efforts and poor performances. That's just my 2 cents on it. Hopefully that answers your question, Jeff. Next up, we're going to go to Anthony and Ronkonkoma for some Week 3 reaction.
Hey, Matt. It's Anthony from Ronkonkoma, man. Love the show. It's about 7:45 after that horrible, atrocious game I just sat through. And there's just no words for this dejecting, terrible, terrible loss. And sorry that your podcast has turned into basically just us Jets
no, I love it.
calling you and blubbering and just all depressing phone calls. But it turned into an event space a little bit.
Definitely.
But I watched Sam's press conference, and he looks broken. He looks just defeated. He looks shot. And I've been a huge supporter of the kid. And I remember the first phone call I made into your podcast probably a year ago was me being concerned about how Gase is going to ruin this kid. And I don't know if it happened yet, but it just looks so horrible, and everything's so negative right now, man. So I don't know. I guess there's not really that much of a question, but I mean, do you think he's ruined? Do you think Gase ruined him already? Thanks, man. Keep it going. Bye.
I think there's a little bit left for Sam Darnold to be salvaged. I'm not ready to throw in the towel on him yet. Some people are. That's fine. If you asked them a month ago, half of those who'd thrown the towel in would not have been in that bandwagon. But anyway, it's tough. It's tough times right now. It really is. And everything you said about Adam Gase and being concerned about Adam Gase was right. Most Jet fans, I would say, 80%, probably higher than 80% of Jets fans hated the hire. And the other 20 were like, okay, I didn't want him, but I'm just going to try to find the spin zones and say, it's not that bad. No, it is that bad. It was going to be that bad. And I think it even turned out worse than what I originally thought it to be. It's tough. It's so tough, man. It really is trying to watch this team right now. So I think if we just suffer through one more bad loss against Denver, we can be saved for the next 12 weeks after that. And maybe they're not, I'm not going to say they're going to go on a run and win 12 games in a row, but at least maybe they're a little bit more competitive. Would it surprise you if they went 5-7 in their final 12 games with a little bit of life? I don't think it would surprise me very much, but who knows? Maybe I'm the optimist. That would be pretty ironic if I turn out to be the optimist of it all. Thank you, Anthony, for your question. Austin from Florida is going to call in now, and he has some reaction as well.
Ye God. That was embarrassing.
Yes, it was.
I'm Austin from Florida, and good Lord, the Jets, we thought we couldn't go any lower after week 1. We went lower. Thought we couldn't go any lower after week 2. We went lower. And now I understand they have the best pass defense in the league, but good God, we got absolutely destroyed by the Colts by almost 30 points. This is special. This is a special New York Jets team we're watching right now. My question, and it's going to take a little to line it up, assuming that we get blown out by the Broncos on Thursday Night Football, which, let's be honest, it's going to happen.
It could.
And then we fire Gase. At that point, with 12 games left,
okay,
do you think Sam can do a good enough job? Because today he looked bad. He had 3 pathetic interceptions. Those were really bad. I love Sam. Those were terrible. But that play for the touchdown was incredible. He rolled out. He can do stuff like that. We've seen it. He did it this week. He did it against the Niners, and people said, well, it was garbage time against the Niners. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. But this week, this was to tie the game.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he did have the 3 terrible passes. I understand that. But do you think that with a interim head coach for the last 12 weeks of the year, do you think Sam plays well enough to keep the job another year and to avoid us getting that first overall pick where we can't pick Trevor Lawrence. God, it's getting hard to watch these Jets games. Thanks for taking the question if you did, and go Jets, but it's getting hard to say that.
I really, really appreciate that question. That was awesome. Okay. I do think that he can do enough to salvage his season, and we've seen it a few times. Last year when he came back from injury, he had that great game against Dallas, and then they looked awful against the Patriots, and they looked rough against, who was it, Jacksonville after that? He threw a couple of picks against too. But then he really turned it on down the stretch, and he had good games against the Giants. He had good games against the Redskins and the Raiders, or the Washington football team now, and they finished strong. They finished 6-2. Now, was the offense great? No, it wasn't, but he showed signs of life, and he wasn't as careless with the football. I think that's really the most important thing that I want to see from Sam Darnold the rest of the way is no more multi-interception games. Like, it's over. It's in your third year. You can't be having games like this. He should not have a game worse than what he had in weeks 1 and 3. I don't think he has an awful game this upcoming week against Denver. I think it's, if anything, I think it's going to be similar to the game against the 49ers. Yeah, maybe he doesn't throw for, 200 yards, but, the completion percentage will be high, the YPA will be low, and the passer rating will be respectable. So I think that skates him by this week. And then Jim Bob Cooter, I think it'd be a little bit of a reset in the final 12 games. Would not surprise me at all if he had a strong second half of the year. Now, I'm not saying he's going to, light the world on fire and be an MVP candidate and the Jets are going to, somehow finish 7-9 like I originally predicted. No, probably not. But I think they win enough games to not be picking first overall. I don't think they're going 0-16. I don't think they're going 1-15. I think they're probably winning 4 games. I do. So thank you so much for the question. Really love that reaction. Next up, we're going to go to Juan from New Mexico with some reaction.
Hello, man. This is Juan. I am from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I just wanted to vent a little bit about what happened today's game. I don't really know what much to say. We just got utterly embarrassed.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Darnold looks like he struggled, but I don't really blame it on him. I just blame it on Adam Gase. For example, he's had Le'Veon Bell. The year before he was with us, he was one of the best players in the league. And last year, he couldn't even run past 5 yards. So it's not the players just don't want to play anymore. It's just the players don't want to play for Adam Gase. I just want to know if they should just let him go before Thursday night or after. Because I'm pretty sure we're not even going to win Thursday even though the Broncos have a backup quarterback. But
right.
I just wanted to ask what your opinions of should we just completely rebuild or should we continue with what we have? Should we even keep Le'Veon Bell and Sam Darnold? So yeah, that is my question.
Thank you so much for checking in. Really appreciate that. A couple of things, a few things to get to in this one. I think Sam is partly to blame for his regression this year. I do think most of it, not all, most is on coaching and the talent around him, but Sam does deserve some of the blame. So I'm not going to give him a complete pass, but I think he needs to be put in a better situation. Yes, Adam Gase has done an awful job with Le'Veon Bell. I don't think they bring Le'Veon Bell back for next year because that cap hit's going to be way too high. They can move on from him, get that money, and either draft somebody or pay someone $5 to $6, $7 million in that range in free agency and have someone who's just like a decent running back, which you can believe me, you can get by with just a decent running back. And I think Sam is the quarterback in 2021. I really do. I don't think that they completely bottom out and move on. I don't. I think they need to help him out. That's really what they need. So thank you so much for checking in. We're going to go to Phil from Brooklyn, and we're going to talk a little Darnold and Trevor Lawrence.
Hey, Matt. It's Phil from Brooklyn, New York. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not even going to talk about the game. We all know it's a disappointment. What I want to talk about is Sam Darnold, right? And all I see on my feed, all of them, is Trevor Lawrence, and I can't be more disappointed. I love Sam, right? I have a huge poster of him in my room. I'm a huge Sam follower since he was even in USC. I love him. Yes, he played like horrible against the Colts. But there are moments where you just see like a top 10 quarterback in him. Like that touchdown he threw in the first or second drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I wanted to tell you was the Jets really don't deserve us fans. They really don't.
He's not wrong.
Chris Johnson might be the worst owner in football. Adam Gase is the worst head coach. Can't even coach a Pee Wee football team. It's all bad. I don't think they deserve fans, honestly. And talk about that. I looked at their schedule. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see a game where we could win. Maybe the Broncos this Thursday, but other than that, I genuinely don't see a game where we would win, and I'm 100% scared for the Chiefs game and how badly that's going to end. But please let me know what you think about Sam Darnold, because I really want to know your take. Yeah. And sign the petition to fire Adam Gase. It has like around 9,000 signs right now. So thank you, Matt, and go Jets.
Yeah, appreciate you checking in. So, still want to see Sam Darnold without Adam Gase. I think we owe him the ability to play with a legitimate coach and like some pieces around him. As far as I want to comment on your schedule thing, which I think is fair, because on paper right now the Jets look like the worst team in football. The NFL changes very, very, very quickly. Very quickly. I think they have a chance this week. I'm not picking them to win, but I do think they have a chance. I'm picking the Broncos 16-10. Real ugly one. Bet the under. I think they would have a chance this week, but I'm not picking them this week. I think they have a chance against Miami. I think they have. They also have a chance against the Raiders. I know they look better, but I think they would have a chance against the Raiders. And there's always a game. Always. Every year. Every single team. All 32 of them. They have games they win that they're not supposed to win. And they have games they lose that they're not supposed to lose. The Jets beat the Dallas Cowboys last year. They also lost to the winless Dolphins and the winless Bengals. It happens. The Patriots ended their season with a loss to the Miami Dolphins. And it was an important loss. They needed that in order to get a first-round bye. They lost and did not get a bye. They played the Titans in the wildcard round, and they got beat badly at home. There are always instances where teams win and surprise you, and sometimes they don't. Like, teams just don't show up. Maybe I wouldn't necessarily bet on this, but would I be stunned if the Arizona Cardinals come from the West Coast to the East Coast to play a 1 p.m. game and are sluggish, and the Jets somehow win that game with a new head coach at that point in Greg Williams as the interim role, and Jim Bob Cooter calling plays, a little bit of motivation. They win a game, I don't know, 2017? No, it wouldn't be the most stunning thing. Now, when you talk about the Chiefs, yeah, they have no shot against the Chiefs. If the spread was 20 in that game, I'd pick the Chiefs to win. I think that one is going to be real ugly. But I think they'd have a shot against the Browns, too. That's another one. Yeah, they are more likely than not going to be favorites, but they are going to win a few games this year. Like I said, I think they win 4 games this year somehow, some way. And as far as Sam, I think I pretty much gave you my answer on Sam. I think I hit on everything. I'm just scrolling through the transcript. Yeah. Next up, we got Vinny in Connecticut calling about Eric Bieniemy.
Hey, Matt, it's Vinny in Connecticut calling once again. Question today is, why is everybody all over the Bieniemy bandwagon? My question really is, for a guy in Kansas City who has the title of offensive coordinator and he's not calling the plays, what exactly is he doing over there? I mean, I'm not dismissing his resume, but, I mean, don't we basically have that already in Dowell Loggins? I really think that we need to get an established head coach in here to right the ship, and I just don't see it with this guy. I could just see it being Todd Bowles all over again. You know, we don't need a coach who needs on-the-job training. We need a guy who knows what they're doing. I'm all over Jim Harbaugh. I'd love to see him come in here, just do whatever it takes, get a winner, throw a big bag of money at him, and just so fed up. And I'm going to have my own rant on my own channel. I'm going to watch my mouth here because it's a family-friendly show, but my God, they're terrible. I honestly, I don't know how you feel. I hope to God that they're completely embarrassed on Thursday night. I hope they lose 55-0, so he just get them the heck out of the building. I'll let you take it from there. Go Jets.
So I'm going to defend Eric Bieniemy. I think it's worth defending. I don't think you're giving him enough credit there. So Eric Bieniemy was the Vikings running back coach from 2006 to 2010. Over that span, here's how the Vikings finished in rushing yards. 16th, 1st, 5th, 13th, 10th. In the top half of the league in rushing yards each one of those years. Then, in 2013, he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's the running backs coach from 2013 to 2017. His running backs, or that room, they finished. The Chiefs' offense finished 10th, 10th, 6th, 15th, and 9th in rushing yards. And as the offensive coordinator, their overall offense finished 1st, 6th, and so far 5th in yards this year. Yes, there's a lot of talent on that Kansas City Chiefs team. No question about it. Andy Reid does a tremendous job with them. He does more than Eric Bieniemy, no lie. But Eric Bieniemy has called plays for the Chiefs. He did it in the playoffs in January. He might not do it as much as Andy Reid, but he has called plays. And also, it seemed to work out pretty well. I know I said this already, but it seemed to work out pretty well for Doug Peterson. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach. I think Bieniemy being around that system that's worked so well for the last 7 years, 8 years is a lot of information to soak up. Like, I don't think you want to dismiss that so quickly. As far as Harbaugh goes, do we like the job he's done at Michigan? I don't think he's done a great job at Michigan. He was great in the NFL. He was really good with the 49ers, but Michigan's underachieved. They've had one of the best they have like the best recruiting class almost every year, it seems like, outside of like Alabama, of course, but they have really good recruiting class that just don't pan out. Shea Patterson was supposed to be this great quarterback prospect. He stunk. He was terrible in college. Awful. They didn't develop him very well. So who knows? Maybe they spend the money and bring in a guy like him, but I would be fine with Bieniemy. I really would. I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss him. We're going to go to Jeffrey in New Jersey, and thanks again, Vinny, for the question. Who wants to know, is Sam the guy?
Hey, Matt, it's Jeffrey from New Jersey. And after what I saw at Sunday evening, what I saw, it just really makes me question if Sam really is the guy. And I get it. I get it. I've heard all the excuses about the receivers and stuff, but man, he flashes. He'll give you the little flashes, and then he'll just be so inconsistent. And I think at this point, I feel bad for him too, because he's had to come to us while, he's gotten to watch Lamar Jackson go do well in Baltimore and Josh Allen kill it in Buffalo. But I think honestly at this point, it's probably better for the sake of Sam Darnold, for the sake of this franchise, that we let go of Gase, and if we have the number one pick, we get a new quarterback, we get Trevor, and just hit the reset button here. I think it's best for both parties. I know Sam will be good. He'll be the next Drew Brees, and we'll see what Trevor can be, but first we got to get that pick. And I think, honestly, it's possible. The only game I see us winning is this Broncos game, and I don't know if we're going to win. So anyway, thanks for what you do, and just let me know your thoughts. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.
Appreciate it. I completely understand why some people are on the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon, and I do think if Sam Darnold was to go somewhere else, I do think he could have success in this league. To me, Sam is still unknown, but I like a lot of the traits that he's shown. Yes, he needs work. His footwork needs help. His decision-making process is flawed. But there's been some really brilliant flashes that I'm not willing to give up on just yet. So I'm not in that spot, but I can't necessarily say that I don't understand at all where Jeffrey is coming from. That would be naive. I'm just not quite there yet. So hope that makes sense. Next up is Travis from Ohio. Travis is really beaten down again for a second week. Let's hear from Travis.
Hey, Matt. Travis from Ohio.
Poor guy.
Hey, buddy. Came up with a new conclusion after Sunday's game. Patriots aren't my worst team anymore. They finally got topped by my favorite team, the Jets. So now they're my favorite team and my worst team.
I feel that. I do.
That's where I'm at. Nothing else I can say hasn't been said already. F Adam Gase. F the Johnsons. Sell the damn team. And F Jamal Adams, of course. I'm not saying I'm glad he got hurt, but all right, buddy. Love you. And go Jets. Whatever. Oh, Thursday game. Oh God, Denver's gonna kill us. All right. Bye.
Electric call as always from Travis. I think I'm going to say it again. I said it a lot on the show. I think if the Jets lose this game and look bad on Thursday, which is not out of the realm of possibilities, that we might be finally free and clear of this Adam Gase guy. Last one, we got Will from Dallas wants to talk about the Colin Cowherd Adam Gase thing.
Hey, Matt, it's Will from Dallas. I just wanted to see your thoughts on Colin Cowherd coming out on his show and saying that if Gase doesn't win on Thursday, that he's going to be fired. I know Cowherd's not the most reputable, but he says he has a source. So I wanted to see what you thought of that, if you thought it was true. And other than obviously Bieniemy, who you would want to come in and take over either after the year, assuming Greg Williams takes over, or for the immediate future. Thanks. Go Jets.
Yeah, so that's okay. That's a good way to end this off. I definitely I understand why Colin Cowherd, or not fully buying into the Colin Cowherd thing. I get it. He's not someone who has, all these sources and is always right. We know that. But it just makes sense. Like, if you're going to move on from him Thursday after losing a Thursday game and giving yourself a little extra time, I think would be smart. I think it could be true. I really do. So I'm assuming that Greg Williams takes over, like you, for the rest of this year. You're not going to bring in another piece for right now, just because that's just not how it works. Now, maybe Brant Boyer gets it. I would be very surprised. I would assume it's going to be Greg Williams and then Jim Bob Cooter to run the offense. And some candidates that I'm interested in for next year. Bieniemy, we talked about. I like him. Greg Roman, we talked about. I like him. PJ Fleck from college. I like him. Jim Caldwell, no. Don't want Jim Caldwell, please. Not sure how I feel about Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Don't think I'm quite there yet on him. Yeah, to me, my top choices are probably Bieniemy, Fleck, and Greg Roman. Those are my guys. Or Arthur Smith from Tennessee. There we go. That's another name that I haven't talked about yet. I think he's done a tremendous job with them, and he's proved me wrong about Ryan Tannehill, just like the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator has proved me wrong about Josh Allen so far. Hopefully, someone proves me right about Sam Darnold. I really hope that to be the case. But that's going to do it for us this week. Hopefully, next episode, we're talking about Adam Gase being gone. Probably going to have to talk about another bad Jets game, but good times are ahead, I think. Or better, slightly better times are ahead. That's going to do it for me. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure to subscribe wherever it is that you're listening or watching. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you next time.